Welcome. So, Power Up Lead Engagement, Unleash Your Blog Superpower is not going to be a session about how you need a blog. You hear that everywhere, right? This is a session about stop wasting your blog. I'm going to tell you some things that people don't tell you about your blog. I want you to learn to use your blog to do more work for you, how to set it up to help you engage your people, the people on your list, so you'll turn more of them into paying customers. Because if that's not the purpose, I don't know what is, right? So let's dive in. So I had a little George Strait moment here. Check yes or no. If you know, right? But do you have a blog on your website? Well, if you're on this call, I'm going to guess you probably do. If you don't have a blog on your website, you may learn some things that make you want to start one. Do you regularly post to your blog? Well, most people are pretty good about that. Now, is it weekly, bi-weekly, monthly? For most people, it's regularly. Could you do more? Maybe, but maybe you don't need to. But now let's start getting into the harder questions. Is it easy to come up with something to write about? Or do you sit in front of a blank WordPress screen, right, and say, oh my God, what am I going to write about? And try to toss some spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks. Yeah, that's a little Oh, here's a good one. Do you know that your leads are interested in what you're writing? Well, that's a really hard one. And most people say, well, I'm looking at emails I send out and I can see that they've clicked the link to the blog post, but I don't know necessarily that they're super interested in it or not. So that's another. And does your blog help you know what your leads are interested in? And I got to tell you, for most people, that's a big X. They don't have their blog set up to know what leads are interested in. So let me just pose a question. What if you could know what truly interests each of your leads? What if you could deepen your engagement with them before they're ready to meet with you? What if you could keep them warm with relevant content until they're ready to become your customer? What would that feel like? Would it be easier to come up with what to write about? Would you feel more certain that your leads were interested in what you're writing? Yes. Could you make more impactful decisions about what content to create? Yes. So you've got two simple things to do. Just two. Number one, change your mindset about calls to action. And I'm going to get into both of these in just a moment, okay? But number two, leverage your post categories in a whole new way. Let's start by digging into number one. And this number one, I'm going to tell you, is the easiest one for you to put into action right away. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to ask you a question. How engaging are these CTAs? Contact our design department today. Like us on Facebook. Shop now. Request a consultation. Subscribe to our newsletter. Set a meeting. Right? Those are all bottom of the funnel CTAs. But you know what? If someone comes to your blog, the chances are they're in the information gathering stage of their buying journey, and they're not at the bottom of the funnel. So what could you do to deepen engagement? And by the way, 2 to 4% of the people who see these CTAs will take advantage of them. But would you be okay if only 2 to 4% of the people who walked into your store bought things from you? Or 2 to 4% of the people who came to your restaurant actually ordered food? Of course not. So why do we keep accepting 2 to 4% of the people who come to our website turning into customers? That's crazy, right? Just because we're not paying rent and carrying inventory doesn't mean we don't want more customers. So what can you do to deepen engagement? You've got to offer more value and listen. So I'm going to show you what offering more value looks like. This is a little video that's running that's showing you what a call to action, and this is an image-based call to action that we created with our software, that you can hover over it, it changes the image, and when you click it, the lead capture form comes up. Perfect. Now you've got somebody who's reading a blog post, you figured out what they're interested in from reading the blog post, and now you're going to deepen the engagement by offering them something else. Here's another call to action, offering a free download. Go ahead and get it now. And when you click it, you get a lead capture form and you fill it out and you get the document delivered by email. Simple. Here's just a button. They don't have to be all pretty pictures, right? This is just a button. Download the data sheet. Click it, download the data sheet. And here's another one on embedded in a blog post, okay? Embedded in a blog post. Now, I'm going to tell you, what I see most of the time embedded in a blog post, contact our design department today, like us on Facebook, or at the bottom in the paragraph, it says, if you want to talk about this, you can reach me at this phone number or by this email address. No, those aren't attention getting, they don't work, and they're bottom of the funnel. 92 to 96 or 96 to 98% of the people who are reading your blog post are not ready to talk to you. They're not ready to do that. Don't you agree, Kim?
Yep, absolutely. They aren't ready. They're just looking. And you can ask yourself when you go into a store, just look at your own behavior. Salesperson comes up to you. I know. Salesperson comes up to you and says, may I help you? And you say,
just looking. No, thanks.
That's right.
Yep. So offer more value and listen. What can you learn? Well, if they download a product data sheet, they're interested in that product, right? You've got significant interest if they're downloading a product data sheet. What if they opt in for something about websites or fill in the blank with whatever it is that you sell or provide or the services that you do, okay? Here's the key. Craft your, we call them attractors, but people call them lead magnets, free offers. Craft those so that they will tell you something about your leads. Don't just create things for the sake of creating them, but create them so that when people take them, you learn something. Now, why is that so important? It's really important. We listen and we learn about our leads so that we can be more on target with the content that we provide to them. Because if we're not on target, if we're just telling everybody everything all the time, they're all going to disconnect. They're going to stop listening. They may not even unsubscribe. They'll just stop opening your emails. That's not what you want. This goes back to segmenting 101. When you're talking to what people are interested in, they're going to engage with your content. It's pretty binary. We want a better chance of getting the click. And I say this so often, the money is in the click. There is no money in an open rate, folks. None. The money's in the click. And when you are the person in your space who is telling people what they want and need to hear, you're going to give yourself a competitive advantage and stand out from all the people in your space who are just shooting information without regard for what people are interested in. But you know what? It's even more than that. When we see content that no one is paying attention to, maybe we don't write more on that topic. And by the same token, when we see an uptick in engagement, we write more on those topics. So now we know how to leverage value-based CTA within our blog posts and even our page content. That's one way to amp up the power of your blog. Let's dig into the next. And I'm going to start by saying this. Stop misusing post categories. And oh gosh, we see this all the time. In fact, a little confession, we did it ourselves for a while until we figured this part out. Here's an example from a hugely popular site. And you can see right here, it's not easy to read, but hopefully you can see it. This blog post is in 5 categories: high-level strategy, editorial processes, content tech, rose-colored glasses. Why would you have a category called rose-colored glasses? I don't know. Tools and technologies. Here's another one: high-level strategy, editorial processes. Okay, whatever that is, which is not rose-colored glasses, content tech, tools and technologies. These 2 posts are in 4 of the same 5 categories. That doesn't even make sense. And another one is in 3 categories, or 3 categories. It's too much, right? You've got to think about what is the real category that these posts belong in. Because here's the thing, when you try to hit all the categories, you're really hitting none of the categories, because the content just becomes this bland landscape of nothingness, because there's nothing meaningful in the categories. Here's another one: 3 key networking mindsets for business success is in 4 categories. Why? And this particular person specializes in communication. Does she really need a category called communication? I don't think so. But now I'm going to give you the exact opposite. Here's a company who has 82 blog posts, 78 of which are uncategorized. And I'm going to tell you, they sell a lot more than deer repellent. They sell deer repellent, they sell rabbit repellent, they sell bug goo, they sell all kinds of stuff that helps gardeners and people with yards keep creatures from decimating their yards. Now, I might look at these categories and think, well, I don't have a deer problem, so I guess they don't have anything to talk to me. You know what I do have? A rabbit problem. The rabbits ate my Asiatic lilies down to the ground and they never came back, and I'm very upset because those were my Mother's Day gifts from my daughter for many years. Gone. But there's no blog post that pertains to rabbit repellent. So what am I doing here, right? Except there is, they just didn't bother to put it into a category. Blog post categories are amazing. Yes, Kim, go ahead.
I just want to say that, if you think about it, you don't want to leave anything out. So I know that the impetus, because we did this, the impetus for our blog post was like, okay, what all does this go with so people can find it? Well, the truth is people don't find your blog post based on the categories you put them in. More than likely they don't. But what you want to do is you want to say, what is this, the main subject? What am I trying to accomplish here? And you pick that one category. Then if you have other things and other blogs that would go with it in other categories, then interlink to those blogs from this blog. And then you'll have people, if they're interested in those other categories, they'll click through, and that'll be far more informative to you than trying to boil the ocean by picking every single blog category that it might go in. And then you don't use your blog categories, you don't optimize your use. Now stay tuned, because we're going to show you what most people, quite frankly, are missing.
That's right. And that's an excellent point. And interlinking is huge, because if people, as she said, follow those links, and those links are in different categories, now you've got them intertwined with other things, with other categories, and therefore other interests. That's huge. So here's what I want to share with you. Leverage category magic. Now, this is for many people listening to this, this is a big mindset shift. And I want you to be open to this, because this is kind of big. And one of the things I sort of made fun of in the prior slide was a category called rose-colored glasses. I mean, who's going to click on that? Does that indicate anything about anything? No. So think about blog post categories as your different customer or lead segments, the interest buckets, what people want to know about. And one of the ways I like to think about it is what leads me to different conversations. Are conversations different if people are interested in X but not Y? Is the content that you create different for people who like W but aren't so interested in Z? If you're in IT services, the conversations are different if people are interested in cybersecurity versus if they're interested in custom software development, right? If you're selling office furniture, the conversations are different if you're selling to a corporate buyer versus people setting up a home office. Or if you're selling garden sprays to people with a rural deer in their garden problem versus the rabbit issue in my rather urban neighborhood. See how your categories can separate people into interest buckets so that you can communicate with them more effectively. Here's the big takeaway. Reduce your blog categories or completely redo them if need be to represent key interest segments and write to those segments. And remember that in most blogs, on your sidebar, you have the option to list your categories. So you want those interest segments to be in a language that will make sense to your reader so that if they click on a category page, they'll get stuff that's going to be meaningful to them. And then put your posts in 1 or 2 categories at the most. Don't put posts in 5 categories or 8 categories or 10 categories. Put your posts in 1 category or 2 at the absolute most. Now, how does this translate? How does this really happen? Well, if you can track page views of your posts, you could pull a list together of people who viewed certain posts and manually sort by category and create a category-based list, and that sounds kind of awful. Or you could include in your emails links to category pages and track who clicks on those category page links. But that's not going to tell you in most systems what people looked at beyond the email click. And quite honestly, it's not even going to tell you that they actually read the post. It just tells you that they clicked the email. But collecting this data is important. How can it be easy to do? Because one thing we know, if it's not easy, it won't get done. Certainly not in the long term. In the short term, you can get all fired up and think, I'm going to do this and I'll create and I'll do that. But in the long term, it gets dropped out if it's not simple to do, plain and simple. So it's only magic if it's easy. So what if you could automatically put leads into different interest buckets, either lists or lead types or whatever your system looks at, based on the category of the blog posts they read? What would this do for you? Kim?
Yeah, and just put that, look, I want to hear from you guys. And so this is where I want to hear from you. If you could do this, would you? Go into the Q&A box. Come on, open it up. Go into the Q&A box and just type, yes, I would totally do this, or no, you guys are nuts. I want to hear from you. Come on.
Those are the options. They do it or we're nuts.
That's right.
Okay.
They do it or we're nuts. All right. So just really look at this because we're going to dive into this. I'm going to show you how, but open up. Come on. I know you guys know how to type, and I know that this is not TV, but just open it up and type. Just let us know. Just let us know. Type it in. Yeah, this would be cool to do. I love this. Yes, I would do it. Does that mean I'm nuts? That's really good.
I want to know who said that. I'm going to reach out to them later.
Right. So anyways, come on, let's hear from some others of you. Let's go. Just let me know. What do you think? Would you or wouldn't you? Tell me what you think. So here's the secret. I want to say now, what would listening give you? What does that then give you? And I want to talk to you about, I'm taking a portion of our email engagement blueprint and I'm marrying that up with what we're talking about here with blogs because it's super relevant. This is what we've been doing. It's what we have done, and it's what we've had many clients do. In fact, before I dive into this, what I want to look at, what I want to think about with you is I just want to tell you, in the continuing ed space, and you might think, well, we're not a school, but continuing ed is professional and personal development, personal enrichment, however you want to talk about it, workforce training, all that kind of stuff. And with schools, average enrollment into their programs is like 39%. That means every course that's going to go, 39% registered, the rest go empty. That means if when we were looking at that problem, if we could convert more, because the class is going to go anyways, all of that money drops to the bottom line, profit, okay? So we started working the same thing we're talking to you about, but we worked it with them. And we said, okay, so we have schools now that look at it and they go, okay, we're running this class. We have a ton of empty seats. Who can we entice? Who can we send to? So we go and look. We go look at, well, what are the categories and the buckets that would be most interested in this particular course? They send an email out. Instead of going out to 10,000 people, it might go to 125 or 250 people. And guess what? They get the registrations, fill the course, and have a waiting list. And we're talking one email that does that. One email. So this is the power of it. This is the power of hitting people with the things they're actually interested in. So the slide you're looking at looks at automating your listening. So that's what we say, listening. Well, if you want to do it at scale across a lot of leads, what you're looking at is, how do I do that at scale? You use automation. Use automation to say, if somebody read a blog post and it's in category A, I'm going to drop them into the appropriate interest bucket. If somebody download a CTA, and I know that CTA has to do with this interest, but I'm going to drop them into that interest bucket, right? Automation. And that means that you can track up at the top, you can track your first party data. It means you have a way to track the things that are going on your website, on your blog. And the value of being able to track that is because you can use automation to then segment it. And if you know who's there, so say they fill out it, they go download a CTA, well, likely they just became a lead because they completed a lead capture form. Or they click through one of your emails, so you know who they are, and you're tracking them way beyond the click into all the things they've done, okay? Beyond the click. It's where the gold is, by the way. Now, just think about that, and you track them. Well, now what can you do? How do you think about that? Well, you could look at, if you know what interests them, you could give them more of what interests them, right? So you could give interest-specific deep dives. What other content and concepts and things can you interest them in that they would want, that they would pull to them, that they would download, that they would happily engage with? And oh, by the way, be delighted, because you're now not switching the subject, you're actually paying attention to what they did. The other one is, what if they download a CTA and now you know they're interested in it? Well, say you have an ebook, or even more deadly, a white paper, and you're like, yes, they downloaded our white paper. Well, guess what? Every point you make in your white paper, you can now use in an email, because hardly anyone reads those. So now you've got ready-made content where you can point back to the page in your white paper and you can say, hey, did you check this out? Blah, blah, blah. And you can deepen it. Now, we even wrote a blog post that explores this aspect of it. Do you see what I'm saying? So you can actually cover it. Now you've got that many specific emails that follow up. And as you go, you might even say in the PS, hey, if you want to talk more about this or dive into it, let me know. I'd be happy to talk more with you about it. Here's a link to my calendar. You could even do that to see and test, are they near bottom of funnel? If they are, awesome. You'll get people that will take you up on it. But now you've got them interested and engaged. And then the other thing is, when you see that you've got a lot of people interested in a segment, in a category, and you decide you want to do a one-off webinar out to them that's going to be on that right, hit them right between the eyes, or you have a class like the CE folks, you set off a one-off email that's targeted right to those people. So when you have something that tracks to the lead, and you can organize those leads in many flexible ways, you can create dynamic lists right on the fly that say those people are getting this particular email. And that has you engage differently. Do you see how all that comes together? How all that automated now turns things on fire in your engagement category? That's how you do it. That's called purpose-driven data that informs your campaigns and makes a huge difference in the results you can get.
Yeah, campaign engagement and ROI go through the roof because it's easier to come up with campaigns that create results. You will feel more certain that your leads are interested in what you're writing. And I can't tell you how many times we've had people tell us, sometimes it just feels like I'm throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. That stops when you do this. And you'll be in a position to make more impactful decisions about what content to create moving forward. So, two things. One, improve your calls to action that are on your blog. That's going to supercharge your blog all by itself. Give people an option that's not a bottom of the funnel option when they're reading your blog post. And two, set yourself up to understand what categories of interest people have and people fall into so that you can do a much better job of engaging. Now, I got to tell you, not every system allows you to do that second part. Kim, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, you want to be able to look at what allows you to click, what allows you to learn this stuff, what allows you to do it. Genu certainly does. It's one of the things that we hang our hat on. We've always done it. Other systems might also, but you want to be able to arm yourself with the tools that are going to have you win.
Yep.